Karen, just to be clear, you didn't do it.
We know who did it, Steve. We know. And we know who spearheaded this cover-up. You all know.
Yes, we do.
If John was beaten up and attacked in that house, who did it?
We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know. And it's not for us to know. Somebody other than Karen is responsible for that, for the killing of John.
You are listening to the Roberta Glass True Crime Report, putting the true back in true crime. From New York City, Roberta Glass is now on the record.
Okay. Can anybody hear me? I hope you can hear me. Hello, Tater. Hello, Truth and Justice. Hello, Texas. Hello, Miss Lisa. Sorry, I had to cough. Okay, Tater. I'm glad. I don't know. It was telling me my microphone was disconnected. Okay. Happy Sunday. How is everybody? Hey, ain't no holla back, gal. So today I want to talk about, everything is moving towards the civil case with Karen Reed. So I wanted to talk about a piece of forgotten testimony. At least it was forgotten by me. Something we didn't see in the second trial that I think really gives us a clue as to why Karen Reed called. This is the question I asked myself. Why Karen Reed had to call Jen McCabe and Kerry Roberts. She initially called Michael Camerano and Catherine Camerano. Those were her first choices to get riled up and bring to her scene of the crime. And when they weren't available, she picked Jen McCabe and Kerry Roberts. And I've always said that I felt that, and I think that this is still accurate, that she needed to mix it all up, mix in players, because otherwise she calls 911 herself. She got Jen McCabe to call 911, and she recorded Jen McCabe's 911 call, which makes, of course, I think Innocence Fraud Watch is pointing this out on X, makes her being so offended that she was recorded without her knowledge by Aidan Carney kind of hypocritical. Here she is recording, strangely calling John O'Keefe, knowing it won't answer, and having the 911 recorded on her phone. So in a sense, she was one of the first wiretappers. But I always felt like there was more to this story as to why she got the idea that she had to prove that she was in a panic and she had to look for him. And where did she get this idea that she was somehow going to be, really, really just leading people to her scene so that they could discover John O'Keefe, but also getting to have witnesses that showed that she acts surprised. All that is definitely part of it. But then I was listening to the testimony of Laura Sullivan. And the story that Laura Sullivan tells is awfully similar to what Karen Reed did on the morning of the 29th, 2022. Let's get into it. So just to give you some background, Laura Sullivan was dating and was pregnant with the child of Pat Rogers, who was John O'Keefe's really good friend on the force. Hold on 1 second. Let me just share my screen so I can show you a picture. This is from Innocence Fraud Watch's excellent and most useful timeline. So there's Pat Rogers on the right, John O'Keefe on the left there. And they all went to Aruba together, so there was no way that Karen Reed hadn't heard this story. But here's the story that Laura Sullivan told on the stand. Take a listen.
I met John in May of 2013. I met him at a bar in South Boston with, he was with Pat Rogers at the time. Post meeting John, I started dating Pat, and my son's father is Pat Rogers. And
I could stop you there just
Yep.
a moment. So as far as John O'Keefe and your son's father, Pat Rogers, did you know or did you come to know sort of what they did for a living?
yeah, they were both Boston police officers.
And did you know sort of what the relationship was beyond co-workers of Mr. O'Keefe and Mr. Rogers?
Yeah. They were best friends.
So at some point following that meeting in 2013, you began to date Mr. Rogers, is that right?
Correct.
And what happened?
So in July of 2013, I became pregnant. And in November of 2013, Pat committed.
And okay?
Yeah.
Following that, how would you describe sort of the relationship with Mr. O'Keefe, or how did it evolve?
So in November of 2013, I was on a work trip, and I had not had the best conversation with Pat. It was kind of, it just didn't feel right. And I called John and
Like Karen and John O'Keefe, who had been fighting.
said, you need to go find him. I can't get a hold of him. He won't answer his phone. And so John left his nephew's birthday party and called a bunch of people on the way. And ultimately, Pat was found in the basement of his house. And John was there immediately following, but he was the one that found people to go find Pat. Immediately following that, John never really left my side, as a support system.
And at some point following that, you had your son.
Yeah.
And
So Karen had to know that story. So John O'Keefe was the hero who got other people to find Pat Rogers. Now Karen Reed is playing that role, and she's going to be the big hero. I knew something wasn't right. I didn't hear from him. I mean, this is almost an identical story, no? And then it has the added benefit for Karen of mixing it all up, of having other people there. She was looking for people who would, the Cameranos, it took forever to get Michael Camerano on the stand. Took to the second trial for him to come out with the fact that John O'Keefe was angry at Karen Reed about the plumber. And that, Catherine Camerano said she can't remember anything Karen Reed told her. It was just a lot of nonsense. She knew that they're wimps, essentially. Sorry, I'm going to be very welcome to Welcome to Tell It Like It Is Sunday. They protect themselves, put their head down, and they're not going to call Karen Reed out for anything that she says that's self-incriminating. She knew those were her first picks. And then she picked Kerry Roberts and Jennifer McCabe. And because Jennifer McCabe was going to be the strongest witness against her, and we're going to remember everything, she had to be, of course, the villain. But, I mean, how similar is this story? But, I mean, the reason I came to it today is because I was really going to talk about, some of these witnesses that we haven't seen. I'm just going to put out an SOS for the Richie the Mansfield plumber. If anybody knows this Richie the Mansfield plumber, putting out an SOS, please get in touch with me. vertiglass23@gmail. Love to talk to you. Did you hear from Karen Reed on the night of January 28th, 2022? Do you put the seats on crooked, the toilet seats on crooked? Did Karen Reed have a rusty pipe that delayed her getting to meet John O'Keefe that night? Strangely, she springs this on John O'Keefe, who had put in a chandelier for Karen Reed 2 weeks earlier in her home in Mansfield. Was this a way of making him angry and somehow getting him out to Mansfield later for her imaginary plumbing issues? Or maybe they're real. Does Richie the Mansfield plumber exist? If anyone knows him, talk to him, knows a plumber named Richie who works in Mansfield, Mass, come talk to me. Love to hear what you have to say. Why have we never seen those text messages? And I just thought, that there's a missing witness for the civil trial. And the way that they framed this, I thought was wrong for this trial, was that Karen Reed is so jealous. I mean, that's how it was really reported. It was like the Ruba incident. We'll listen to some more of it. But no one picked out that this is almost the same. I think Adam Lally must have. This is the same exact story. How are you guys feeling? I think she could have been, Nellie. He tells her, you're jonesing for a drink, so go to the bar. I don't know her drinking habits. She certainly had a full bar at home. But Karen Reed's behavior really has to come in their relationship, because if you listen further on in this testimony, you get such a picture of a coercively controlled or DV situation, which we usually don't think of, with a cop, a man, a macho man being the victim of, but it happens. And someone wrote on my shorts, I did a short video from my conversation with Brendan Kane, where Brendan Kane was talking about how John O'Keefe, the last picture of them together, John O'Keefe had to take to send to Karen to prove to her, where he was. And also there's text message of John O'Keefe sending a picture of himself with his father to Karen Reed on the 28th. Again, so it seemed to be a habit that she demanded photographic evidence of where John O'Keefe was as a way to keep power and control over him. But you listen to this, and Laura Sullivan seems to understand that things are very wrong in this relationship, and asks him if he wants to talk about it, and he clams up. It seems like John O'Keefe wasn't one to, talk about his problems with other people, at any great length. but it was the cracks in the relationship were showing back in this trip to Aruba. So let's take a listen. This is some interesting testimony. Let's take a listen to it together. Let me see if I can just speed it up, maybe just like a half a fraction, so that we're not here, all night. And I'm sorry, the sound is impossible. If anybody watched the whole first trial, it's just impossible and near impossible to
Before or
fix.
after that, at some point, did you have a conversation with Mr. O'Keefe in regard to your son?
It was his birthday, December of 2013, and we went to the Playwright, which is where we had all met. And I gave him a card and I asked him to be Ben's godfather, and he said yes.
And in relation to your son, was Mr. O'Keefe, was John involved in your son's life
Yes, very much so.
and household?
He was every birthday, Christmas. He was always in contact. He was the first person in my delivery room after I gave birth. He was a constant. He was a connection to Pat, and always making sure that Ben was taken care of in the sense of being there to tell stories or what have you from his.
Right, but what a benefit to Karen Reed, the first person on the scene, the one who really I tried to see. It makes so much more sense when she's on this step screaming, I tried to save his life. I was the only one trying to help him. No one bought that. Not even the free Karen readers buy that she was the only one trying to save his life. She was the one, she was trying to deflect away from, her crime while simultaneously at other moments admitting to it, mixing it all up, putting people in a fear state, acting hysterical, getting herself sectioned so she didn't have to talk to the police. It was all about Karen Reed. She just doesn't have it in her. She plays the hero so badly is what I'm trying to say.
His relationship with Pat.
And through sort of his relationship with you and your son, Mr. O'Keefe also become familiar with your family as well?
Yeah. Yep.
And in regard to your family, was there some kind of term or how would they refer to Mr. O'Keefe?
The Godfather. He was called the Godfather to almost everybody.
Now, ma'am, if I could turn your attention back to that summer of 2021, you received a text from Mr. O'Keefe, is that right?
Mhm.
And
So I'm sorry, you do have to say yes or no.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
after you received that text, did you reach out to Mr. O'Keefe?
Yes, I gave him a call because I was excited. I was immediately excited. I gave him a call, explained to him that.
That's how you are. It's a spectrum of, so Carrie May saying a lot of people were saying Jen and Carrie are too calm. Well, that's when you're trying to support someone who's hysterical, you do try to act calm. It's not helpful to the firefighters or the first responders, and you're in shock. Karen Reed wasn't in shock because she knew what she did. She knew she had to put on a performance of a lifetime and try to sell this as her as the great hero, the great rescuing hero. This was a role that John O'Keefe played so naturally. So it just all makes sense that Karen Reed, why would Karen Reed call him the patron saint of Canton? Because that's a role that she was now trying to emulate and play in this story. I don't know. To me, this was like, it made so much more sense. It's just like a missing piece.
We had a group of rooms. We were going with, I don't even know the number at that time that had, signed up to go, but it was a lot of kids. It was all of our friends, and that they would have a great time.
And from that, did he give you any sense or say anything about who from was it just himself or like who's coming along?
He had mentioned that it would be the kids, and he said,
Carrie, I got it. Totally. I totally got it. I totally got it. I wasn't saying that you were saying that. I just thought that was an interesting point. It's like a free Karen Reed talking point. They're too calm. They must be guilty. Something. Sorry to interrupt. People are saying, I don't know. There's one person who's saying, I put up I'm interrupting too much. Probably am. But I do put up, if people want to watch, I do put up the links, and if people want to watch without my commentary, some of this is commentary. So I do feel the need to put in some commentary, but I do put in the links in the description for people who want to watch it without it. But I get you, Carrie.
Karen would be joining him as well.
And at that point, at some point subsequent to that, you knew him to be referring to Karen, correct?
Yes.
At that point, had you met Karen Reed? Did you know who that was?
I had not. I knew that they were dating, but I had never met Karen, no.
And in addition to himself, it would have been Mr. O'Keefe, Ms. Reed, the defendant, and his niece and nephew, Patrick and Taylor.
Correct, yes.
And if you know, in relation to your son, as far as Mr. O'Keefe's nephew, Patrick, where are they in relation as far as age?
They're like three years apart. 3 years apart.
Now, when you have that phone conversation with Mr. O'Keefe, what if any interest does it show as far as going through?
After asking a couple questions, I could hear Karen in the background, and he put Karen on the phone, and that was the first time I had spoken to her. He basically said, just talk to her so you can answer her questions.
Do you recall what kind of questions they were, or what it was about?
She was interested in the room setup, how many people could sleep in a room, and how the room is set up. You have a king-size bedroom, and then there's a kitchen area, and then there's a living room that has a pull-out couch. And I explained that you could.
So Karen Reed had to have her own room. She couldn't sleep in the bed with John. She had to have her own room in her own space.
It's a 4-person occupancy room, and you could get a roll-away bed as well.
And following that conversation, when was the next time, if at all, that you had any conversation with Mr. O'Keefe and or Ms. Reed in regard to the room?
So during that conversation, Karen mentioned that she needed her own bathroom and she needed her own space, and that she wanted 2 rooms. And so I put them in contact with a woman that I knew had 2 rooms for them to, figure that piece out. I don't handle any of that. I put people in contact with whoever owns the rooms. I put them in contact with the woman who had the 2 rooms, and I know that they had, paid her relatively quickly. I mentioned to John that the rooms, I couldn't promise that the rooms would be next to each other, and they weren't. They were on opposite sides of the hotel, but they got 2 rooms.
And when you say opposite sides of the hotel, where sort of where those rooms were in relation to each other, and who stayed in which room? So
the pool and lobby is in the center, and then the hotel comes like this, and there are pool walkout rooms on the first floor of each. And Karen and John were on this side, and the kids were on this side, and they both had walkout rooms.
And as far as sort of front door to front door, do you know about how far away they were from each other?
I would say, steps wise, maybe 200. But the hotel it's small enough, but it was separated by a lobby, the front entrance.
I really think Karen Reed, they were going to all say, she expected everyone to say, well, you're not the type of person who would do this. You actually, went looking for him. You're a hero. I think she expected or half hoped that they'd all say, Karen, you're a hero. You're the one who jumped on his body, lifted up your shirt, and rubbed yourself on him, doing absolutely nothing of any substance or help. But thankfully for you were here. And I don't know. Do you think the point was to seriously injure him? She knew she had killed him. She had to know. I just think it's an admission in the negative. He didn't look mortally wounded. I think she knew he did. She's like, oh, better cover this up. I'm not the type. I'm the rescuer hero type. I'm the patron saint. I'm the patron saint of Mansfield.
The outside entrance.
Now, with regard to your arrival, when was it that you arrived in Aruba?
So the timeshare rooms run Friday to Friday. So we were booked for the 31st through the 7th. Josh's birthday is December 30th. So we went down as a family a day early. And we had friends who were already down there since Christmas. John's timeshare room woman reached out and said, hey, we're leaving early if you want to arrive early. So him, Karen, and the kids actually came down on the 30th as well. They were on the flight following us. And then the rest of the 60-ish people, however many were there, showed up on the 31st.
And so from that first day that you arrived there, as far as when you got there on the 30th, when was the first time that you saw John, or when was the first time that you saw anyone from that?
It was, we were at the pool, so it was not long after they had landed. He texted me and said, we're here. And Ben and I jumped out of the pool and went to the lobby to see him. And then on the way back from the lobby, I saw somebody banging on the window on the left-hand side of the rooms, and I didn't know who it was. And then I saw Kaylee, and I was like, oh, well, that must be Karen.
And again, was this the first time that?
Yeah, banging seems to be Karen's style. Banging on the door. I mean, does anyone remember the reports from Kaylee's testimony? Said that John walked away from the fight and went to his bedroom and closed the door and locked it. And Karen reads like pounding on it in a fight. I saw banging on the door as the first.
You had seen Karen face to face.
First time she saw Karen. That must be Karen.
Yes.
And just for clarity purposes, as far as Ms. Reed is concerned, do you see her in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Did you just identify as to where she's seated or an article of clothing that
She's right there.
she sent to record reflect identification of the identified?
Okay.
Thank you. Now, after you see this person bang on the window and you recognize Kaylee, what happened?
She came out. She gave me a big hug, said, it's nice to meet you. I've heard so much about you. I recognized you from pictures.
And following along from there, what happened then as far as the day was concerned?
So as I mentioned, it was Josh's birthday. We had already made plans to go out for dinner. Our friends who had been there since Christmas have a 17-year-old daughter who watched our children so we could go out for dinner. I mentioned it to John. I said, we'll just add you to the reservation. You can join us for dinner. The kids can stay with Chloe. And they said, absolutely. So we all went out for dinner that evening to Screaming Eagle.
And Screaming Eagle, where is that in relation to the hotel the rents?
It's probably about a 15-ish minute cab ride.
And when you arrived there, what, if anything, do you recall about sort of the dinner or how it went?
So we were sitting outside on the patio. It was Karen, myself, our friend Laura. Across from Laura was her husband, Dave. Josh was in front of me, and John was in front of Karen.
And what, if anything, specific you recall about the dinner or sort of what happened at dinner?
So we, the waiter came over. He started taking drink orders. Karen placed her order. I placed mine. Laura placed hers. Dave placed his, and then Josh ordered a dirty martini with blue cheese stuffed olives.
Okay.
I'll allow it. I don't know where it's going, and you can move to strike unless you wanted to see me, Mr. Yannetti. Okay.
So Ms. Sullivan, turning back to at the restaurant, the drinks that are ordered, people have what they have. And at the end of the evening, as far as the bill comes at some point, correct?
Correct.
And what, if anything, do you recall about that?
Karen had paid the bill prior to us receiving it.
And what, if any, reaction did you or anyone have in regard?
The entire table was kind of taken aback, said it wasn't necessary.
Apparently this was a pattern with Karen and Kaylee. She bought Kaylee very expensive gifts. And you could say she's very generous, or you could say that it was a way to control people and manage impressions and make them feel indebted to her. I mean, you could go either way.
To Venmo or give cash or something along those lines, and she declined, saying that
I happen to think it's the latter, but just knowing Karen's personality, she certainly hasn't been too generous to the witnesses or to anyone else who helped her out that morning.
She was honored to be there and wanted to pay for it.
Turning your attention to the following day, what, if anything, do you recall about the next day being that would have been, 31st, is that correct?
Yes.
So turning your attention to December 31st, 2021, what, if anything, do you recall about that day in specific regard to Mr. O'Keefe?
John was very vocal on the 30th on how he just wanted to sit in the pool and watch the Alabama game.
And he was a pretty big Alabama fan, is that correct?
Yes.
I thought Brendan Kane told me why he rooted for Alabama, but I have to ask him again because it escapes me.
And so over the course of that day, what, if any, interaction did you have with either, starting with Mr. O'Keefe, what, if any, interaction did you have with him?
I saw him in the pool. I know he was sitting at the pool bar watching the game with Josh. I saw the kids. I recall seeing Karen. I don't remember if we spoke or not. But it was mostly in the pool because we were waiting for the rest of our friends to show up.
Now, amongst the rest of your friends that showed up, do you have any siblings?
I do.
And how many siblings do you
I have 2.
have? And brother or sister?
I have a younger brother and a younger sister,
And with reference to your younger sister, what's her name?
Marietta.
And how much younger than you is Mary?
She's 10 years younger than me.
And was Marietta Sullivan, was she coming in on that day as well?
She was.
And do you recall about what time it was that she arrived or that she came to the hotel? When was the first time you saw her?
It's tough to remember, but I want to say everybody showed up on one of the first or second flights that came out of Boston. So I would say she was there by 1 p.m.
And if you recall, what, if any, plans were there as far as dinner was concerned on that evening of New Year's Eve?
So what we tend to do is book reservations, and if people are interested in joining, they can join us. And that night we had approximately 40 people going to have dinner on the beach at Moomba Beach. Around, I want to say it was like 7 o'clock. We had our reservations for.
And did Mr. O'Keefe and defendant Ms. Reed join you for dinner that evening?
They did not know.
Now, let me take a step back just for a moment. As far as Ms. Reed was concerned, prior to your arrival in Aruba, did you have her phone number or did you have any way of contacting her?
No.
And when was it that you got Ms. Reed's phone number?
John had added her and I and
Right. But I think that she's been doing this her whole life, is bringing in other characters, bringing in other people. I mean, to cover up her own behavior and point away from her own behavior. Because, I mean, if you look at what's going on with Aidan Carney and Karen Reed now, so Karen Reed's obviously trying to distance herself publicly from Aidan Carney. There's rumors that there might be some kind of or she's worried. There's rumors that she's worried because Aidan Carney said she was worried when they took her phones of what's on her phones. You can listen to the voicemail on my shorts of her saying, do you know what was on those phones, of her being charged with some kind of federal charges in this for witness harassment, etc. I don't know how that's going to work after the fact, but okay. This is why I'm skeptical of it, but Aidan Carney says she's at least worried about those charges coming down. So she's going to save herself and publicly distance herself. So if this stuff comes, she's always one step ahead. If this stuff comes out on her phones, she's already publicly broken with him. She's publicly broken with him before. Always made a distance between herself. And you can see the text messages or communications from Yannetti to Aidan Carney saying, don't get mad if I don't shake your hand at the hearing. But, you have to maintain your objective stance. And Aidan Carney was lying to his audience for months that he didn't talk to Karen Reed, that he had nothing to do with the defense team, instead of being basically a wing of Karen Reed's defense team, which is what he was and still is.
Chloe to a group text the night that we had gone out for dinner to make sure that we could all communicate with Chloe to make sure the kids were okay.
So you got her phone number in relation to watching kids as far as Pacini and your children and everybody.
Correct.
Now, if you recall, you go out to dinner, I think the reservation was about 7 or so. Do you recall about what time it was that you got back to the hotel?
I want to say it was around 9:30, 10 o'clock by the time my group got back, I know there was a couple different seatings. So we probably got back around like 9:30, 10 o'clock.
And as far as your group was concerned, your sister Marietta, was she within your group that went out to dinner?
Yes. Yep.
And beyond your younger sister Marietta, did you have other sort of immediate family with you on this trip as well?
My mother was with us as well.
And with regard to your sister Marietta and your mother, what if anything was there as far as where were each of them staying?
So they had their own room. I think it was a couple away from us on the 5th floor.
Is that the top floor as far as this hotel is
Yes.
concerned? Now, once you arrived back from dinner, where was it you and your group went?
We go to the pool area. The kids can swim. We ring in the new year at the pool bar, watching it on the TVs, and then watching the fireworks.
Now, when you came back to the hotel and you went at some point to the pool area, your sister Marietta, do you know where she went?
She actually, when we got back from dinner, she went up to her room with my mom and essentially put my mom to bed because she didn't want to be up anymore. But she went to go change as well.
Now, when you came down to the pool area, as far as Mr. O'Keefe and or Miss Reed was concerned, did you see them in that area?
I saw John, I want to say around 10:30-ish. I don't know the exact time. It was definitely before midnight.
And where in relation to the hotel did you see him at 10:30?
He was standing behind me at the pool bar.
And at some point, does your sister come out to the pool area after putting your mother to bed?
Yeah, so right before I saw John at the pool bar, I saw my sister. She came out and she was visibly upset.
And, Your Honor, in regard to the instruction that you would request about this, maybe.
All right, thank you. So, jurors, you're about to hear testimony about certain conduct or behavior allegedly committed by Ms. Reed. Be mindful that the defendant is not charged with committing any crimes other than those charged within the indictments. The witness's testimony may not and indeed must not be considered by you as any evidence that the defendant has a bad character or as evidence that she has a propensity to commit the crimes with which she has been charged. You may not take the defendant's prior acts as a substitute for proof that the defendant committed the crimes charged here, but you may consider the act solely on the limited issue of the state of mind of the defendant and the nature of her relationship with John O'Keefe as it might go to motive or intent. You may not consider this evidence for any other purpose. Specifically, you may not use it to conclude that if the defendant committed the act or acts, that she must also have committed the offenses with which she's charged. You can only use the evidence for the limited purpose of how it goes to the defendant's state of mind, the nature of her relationship with John O'Keefe, as it may go to motive. And just for the records, my findings are the same that I made at sidebar previously. Go ahead, Mr. Lally.
Thank you. Now, with regard to, at some point, your sister comes out to the pool area where you were, is that right?
Correct.
And do you know where Mr. O'Keefe was at that point?
I do not know.
And when your sister comes out to the pool area, what happened?
She said,
Yeah, that's sustained. I thought you were doing something else.
When your sister comes out to the pool area, how would you describe her demeanor when she comes out?
No, I'll allow that.
she was frustrated.
And at some point, did you have a conversation, without regard to what the conversation was, at some point, did you have a conversation with her about something that had just happened?
Yes.
Now, following that conversation with your sister, at some point subsequent to that, Mr. O'Keefe come back out to the pool area.
After I spoke with her, yes, he came out to the pool area.
And do you know about how long a period of time it was between the time that your sister came out to the pool area and Mr. O'Keefe came out to the pool area?
I mean, I would say approximately 20 minutes, but I don't really know exact timing.
Now, when Mr. O'Keefe came back out, did you have any conversation with him?
I did.
And can you describe that conversation?
All right, is this the instruction that you were talking about instead of the other one? All right, so jurors, I have another instruction for you. So you're about to hear evidence of statements made by John O'Keefe. Is that accurate now, Mr. Lally?
Yes.
All right. These statements are being admitted only for a limited purpose of establishing John O'Keefe's state of mind. You're not to consider this test.
I mean, these instructions are so ridiculous. Someone left a message saying, well, actually, I think I started telling the story in the short saying, well, talking about the picture that her bad behavior, that she could be an awful person. And I hear this a lot, but it doesn't make her a killer. True. But don't you think an awful person is more likely to kill? But you're not allowed to make this inference, take any of these prior bad acts into consideration.
testimony as proof that the defendant has a bad character.
I mean, it's not proof that they did it. I get that you're not allowed to use it as proof, but to only use it to John O'Keefe's state of mind and to not look at the whole story as a whole.
Or propensity to commit crimes. The testimony of witnesses recounting conversations with Mr. O'Keefe can only be used as they go to the defendant's motive or intent on January 28th or 29th, and only if you find that the defendant was aware of Mr. O'Keefe's state of mind at the time of the crime and would be likely to respond to it. There need not be direct evidence that the defendant learned of Mr. O'Keefe's state of mind, so long as you reasonably can infer from the evidence that she did learn of it. Okay, Mr. Lally. Yes, yep.
So, Ms. Sullivan, if I could take you back again. So Mr. O'Keefe comes out, you have a conversation with.
So Kelly writes that the defense paid an expert and the judge allowed it. Well, expert witnesses for the defense and sometimes the Commonwealth can be paid. The payment isn't the issue. It's the lying about the payment. So instead, they presented those witnesses as that they were paid for by the feds, that they were totally impartial, that the Commonwealth could have used them. That's the issue. Not that they were paid. It's that they lied about being paid and presented them to the jury as totally impartial witnesses. I mean, that could have totally acquitted Karen Reed. You know, had the jury known the real story, we might have gotten a conviction first time round. I mean, there was so much lying by the defense. Lying, criminal behavior, not handing over discovery, not playing by the rules. And this Judge Cannoni just allowed her courtroom to become a kangaroo court.
Can you describe to the jury what that conversation was?
I turned around and I was pretty shocked to see him. I said, "What's going on?" And he said, "Nothing." I said, "Did Etta and Karen have words?" And he said, "I don't know." And I said, "Well, that's not what Etta said." And I asked him if everything was okay. And at that time, his phone was lighting up, and it looked like calls and texts, and it said Karen on his phone.
After you make that observation, what did you say to John?
I asked him if he needed to take it, and he said, "Yes, she's crazy. I got to take care of this."
Was that the last time that you saw him on New Year's?
It is.
Turn your attention to the following day.
So here's Karen Reed doing very much what she did all of the day of the 28th. Call, text. And he was like, "Karen, stop calling. Busy." But she had no respect for John O'Keefe's boundaries. You know who does that kind of behavior? Abusers. That's abusive behavior. Not respecting someone's boundaries, calling, texting.
You're dead. Did you see either Mr. O'Keefe or Ms. Reed at all on that?
I did not. I saw the children, but we didn't see them that day. No.
Now, turning your attention to the following day being January 2nd, what was sort of the plan as far as what was going on that?
Our hotel has a private island. The hotel we stay at has a private island, and we rented all 8 of the cabanas between the 60 of us that were there. And when the cabanas went on sale, I had reached out to John and asked him if he wanted me to get him one. And he said, sure. So I booked one for him, and he paid me for that cabana. So we all went out that morning. And it was probably around, 10 o'clock in the morning, and they weren't there yet. And so I sent him a text and I said, are you coming, or do you want me to sell this cabana? Because there was other, couples there. At least he could have made, the money back. And he asked me who was there. And I said, everybody. And I named off a couple names. I'm not really sure, but I said, everybody's here.
And when you said that, how did Mr. O'Keefe respond?
He said, well, apparently I made out with your sister the other night, according to Karen.
Now, is that the first time that you had heard that?
Yes.
So fair to say whatever you had heard from your sister on December 31st was not that.
No, I'll allow that.
Correct.
And what was your reaction when Mr. O'Keefe told you?
I
I'll allow it.
I was shocked. I immediately found my sister and said, "Did you make out with John?"
Sustained.
Now, when you went to talk to your sister, who was it that your sister was with when you went to talk to her?
I don't recall who was standing near her. Maybe my mom. I don't know.
As far as your sister was concerned at that time, was she dating someone?
Yes,
The person that she was dating, was that person on the trip as well?
he was. Yes,
And was that person that she was dating was on the trip as well? Were they at the Cabanas on that day that you
they were. Yes.
Now, as far as you have some conversation in regard to your sister, and then at some point you go back and have further conversation with Mr. O'Keefe.
Yeah, I said I texted him back. I said I just talked to Etta. She said absolutely not. That did not happen.
That's sustained. I'll strike that.
Now, at some point after that exchange, did Mr. O'Keefe and or Ms. Reed and or the kids come out to the Cabana area?
They did. Yes.
And at any point, how would you describe sort of how Mr. O'Keefe and or Ms. Reed was acting when they came out to the Cabana?
But Karen immediately went in the water. I just recall her being like floating in the ocean for a good chunk of the day. John was hopping around from the different cabanas talking to people. One of my favorite pictures of him is with my son from that day.
Did you have any conversation with Mr. O'Keefe once he came out to the Cabana area?
No, we kind of just kept it light. We didn't really talk about anything that had happened. I was just kind of trying to stay out of it for now.
And following sort of the Cabana situation or the Cabana day, what happened then?
Suppose that day, I think I saw John one other time. I saw him in the pool. It was the one time that him and I were alone. He didn't seem like he was himself.
I'll allow it.
He seemed distant, and I asked him if he was okay. And he kind of just shrugged it off. And I said, are you happy? And he kind of, just rolled his eyes and shrugged it off. I said, well, something along the lines of life is too short to not be happy. And he goes, well, Laura, it is what it is. And I did ask him if he wanted to talk about it. I said, do you want to talk about it? And he's like, not really.
So following,
I hate that. It is what it is. What does that mean? What does that mean? It is what it is. Get out of it. It's just like a way of saying, of shutting down and not talking about it. It is what it is. She's crazy. She's not crazy. She's sane. She just doesn't have any compassion for anyone but herself. She's not made like that. Psychopath. She's cunning, calculating, liar. And I don't know how John O'Keefe, as a police officer, usually really smart at sussing out lies, dealt with Karen Reed. Probably they fought a lot over it. That's probably how he dealt with it.
that exchange in the pool area, when was the next time that you saw them?
I'd spoken to him. We all went on the Jolly Pirate. We had all bought tickets in advance. So we had basically rented the whole boat for everybody to go. Had bought 4 tickets and we had gotten a bus from our hotel, and he didn't show up for the bus and wasn't answering my calls or my texts. And then we finally got down to where the boat was. The boat was about to leave, and he messaged me. He's like, not going to make it. Kid slept late. And so I didn't think anything of it. Then after that, I saw him and Karen the night before they left. And they ended up leaving a day or two early so that the kids could get back to school.
And when you saw them, where was that in relation to?
Right outside the hotel is a marketplace that has a bunch of restaurants and arcade.
Yes, she was in jail, Scylla. And her bail hearing was when we heard Yannetti say that she has a brain tumor and no colon and a host of other ailments that we've never heard about again. She also told Brian Higgins that she had colon cancer and 10 operations for it. which is, my father died of that disease and he didn't have 10 operations. So, I mean, she seems to use imaginary illnesses to manipulate and have power and control over people and pull attention.
Was sitting at the 5 o'clock somewhere bar that looks into the arcade with my best friend Val, and my friends Dave and Laura and Karen and John walked up.
What, if any, conversation did you have with either Mr. O'Keefe or the defendant at that?
Karen grabbed me and she said, "Hey, I'm sorry. I thought I saw something that I didn't, and I would like to pay for some of your sister's room."
And how did you respond to that?
I said, "It's absolutely not necessary."
She didn't think she saw it. She just knew that she could keep power and control over John by keeping him on the defensive. How do you think you saw something? This was just her line. And when she was going off with Brian Higgins and already checked out of the relationship, I believe, and moving on, she was writing John O'Keefe, like, just tell me if you're not into it anymore, if you've checked out, putting it on him. He's like, I'm just not into us fighting all the time. Like, I'm not as quick to be lovey-dovey as you are. I'm not getting it word for word, but you get the idea. That lovey-dovey was the word he used. I'm not as quick to be lovey-dovey after a fight as you are. And then Karina Kalakithis strangely testified that at the bar that night they were lovey-dovey, something that no one else said. So I think Karen Reed showed Karina Kalakithis her text messages to and from John that night. She is a real snake in the grass, that Karina Kalakithis.
Just an apology will do.
And did she persist in wanting to pay for the room?
She did.
And how so?
She just said, I will apologize, but something along the lines of, I want to pay for some of her room. Can I just have her room number? I don't remember if I gave her the room number or not. I don't really know.
And with regard to that trip, when was the next time, or when was the last time that you saw it?
So the day that they were leaving, I saw him by the pool. He came up, he gave me a big hug. He said, "I love you. This was a great trip. Thank you so much." And I said, "Well, you're definitely in again for next year." And he said, "Absolutely." And that was the last time I physically saw him.
And so that conversation, just turning back for a moment, as far as with regard to Ms. Reed, you know what day that would have been, as far as in relation to when they were leaving? Early January, Thursday?
I want to say it was the 5th. I want to say it was January 5th.
Now, after Ruben, did you have any conversation with Mr. O'Keefe after that?
I talked to him via text a couple times about a couple different things, but one of them was, as I mentioned, we start planning a year in advance. And I said, "Rooms are coming available. Are you in?" And he said, let me recover from this trip first.
It's so telling about John that even with all the issues that Karen caused, that he wanted everyone to feel good and say this was a great trip and make them feel good. I mean, that's someone who's really sensitive to other people's feelings, no? And then he says, "Let me recover from this trip." So he's saying this wasn't a great trip for him. It needs time to recover from it. But when he knew that she had put it together in some ways, and he didn't want her to feel responsible for the havoc that Karen Reed caused on that trip. I find this testimony really sad and really touching. I don't know about anyone else.
Now, ma'am, if I could turn your attention to Saturday, January 29th, 2020. You recall that day?
I do.
And at some point that morning or during that day, did you get a call?
I did. I received a call from,
I'll hear that she received a call from someone.
I received a call from my aunt
And what did you learn in the call from your aunt? Okay.
I'll want it.
that John O'Keefe had passed away.
And after you hung up the phone with your aunt, what did you do with that?
It is subject to striking.
I called him. I called anybody's number that I had associated with the family. I ended up calling Kaylee. I texted Kaylee. I texted Karen.
And without any regard to what Kaylee said, did Kaylee respond to you via text?
She did.
And then at some point, did the defendant, Ms. Reed, respond to you as well?
She did.
Was that a phone call or a text, or how did she respond?
It was a text later that afternoon.
And do you recall what she said in the text?
She said, "Hi, Laura. John has passed." And I
recall what, if anything, you responded to that?
I said, "Oh my God, what happened?" And she said, "We found him in the snow at 5 a.m.
And what, if anything, did you ask her, or how did you respond?
I said, "What happened?" I just recall, kind of going into a tailspin, asking a bunch of questions. And she mentioned, she said, "I don't know. We were both at the same party. I didn't go in. I went home."
Right. So Karen's going to spin it as a party when it was just a little, really, like, I wouldn't call that a party. I would just call it a get together. Like a stopover, really, to a friend's house after the bars closed. But it benefited her to call it a party. So that's what the papers ran it as. All this language is so important to these cases. Hi, I just love the way Laura Sullivan knows Karen. "Hi, Laura. John's passed. Don't know. Found him in the snow. Definitely didn't reverse into him, going 24 miles an hour with my foot 75% down on the gas pedal. That wasn't me in reverse, in a very odd, strange way that most people don't get hit by a car, so that I have evidence. So the evidence will be odd and not typical of a usual frontal strike. I just clipped him. Wanted to teach him a lesson. Hi, Laura. We don't know. Found him in the snow. I'm the one who found him. I stole your story, by the way. I tried to play the John O'Keefe role. I didn't really succeed in it, but I tried. But it really, I do believe that there is no need. Again, this is where I'm stuck with this in this case. Why I keep coming back to it. Just, there's no need. Does anyone see that there was no need for her to call Jen McCabe to wake up Kaylee? All she had to do was call 911. She did not have to involve half the town in her drama, but it benefited her. Bringing in all these characters with real human frailties that we all have. And life issues and et cetera, et cetera. She could point the finger away from her own actions, her own personality, her own relationship with John O'Keefe. That was really the benefit of it. But I think she had hoped that she would come out the shining hero. We found him. And not me, right? Because she's the last person to have seen him alive. And what do we know about crime stories? The last person to see someone alive. They're usually the one responsible. So I think, let's see if there's the last tail end of this.
Thank you. I have nothing further for this witness. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Ms. Elle.
Good afternoon.
You were not present at the Waterfall Bar and Grill on January 28th of 2022 in Canton.
I was not.
You were not present at 34 Fairview Road in Canton.
But I know Karen, and I know her personality, and I know the relationship, the way she treated John O'Keefe.
On January 29th of 2022?
It's not.
Yet you'll agree with me that Michael Proctor, the state police trooper, visited you at your home all the way in Pembroke, Massachusetts on February 8th of 2022
Yes.
to interview you?
Yes.
Well, that sounds like he was doing a thorough job.
Nothing further.
Anything, Mr. Allen?
Just briefly, as far as Trooper Proctor coming to your house, was he alone, or who, if anyone else, was he with when he came?
He was with another trooper,
Okay. Do you recall who that trooper was?
Trooper Fanning.
Nothing further on.
Do you see how all those little details are so important? Let's stop sharing. Hold on one sec. To the story. He didn't come alone. Following up. I wish they had followed up on the Richie the plumber. That would have been great. Said, Karen, where are your text messages to and from Richie the plumber? They've never been put in the public domain. Who is this Richie? They didn't visit Richie the plumber. We haven't heard any visit by the police of it. Anyway, thanks, Tater. Yeah, that's where I'm going to leave it for tonight. It's just a review. I hope Laura Sullivan comes into the civil case. I hope Karen Reed's behavior, her relationship with John O'Keefe, it's really key. Neither trial 1 nor trial 2 got it right. If once again, I'll say, if Karen Reed were a man and John O'Keefe were a woman, roles were reversed, in this. And a man had run over his police officer girlfriend after a fight, clipped her, and left her to die in the snow. We'd have all these experts about DV and coercive control, and all the evidence was the same. And what makes me so sad about listening to this is that he really didn't reach out for support through this. Must have been hell being in this thing for 2 years. In the beginning, it's great because they love bomb you. But then you realize you're like a prisoner in this relationship that you can't get out of. All right, that's what I have for today, guys. Please support the channel. I do rely, it's a small channel, I do rely on support from my viewers to keep producing content and getting the message out there about innocence fraud. If you'd like to send a donation, Venmo, buy me a coffee, great ways. Oh, wait, I have some thank yous. Hold on one second. Please hold. I've been meaning to do this. Marcy Denton, Carol Holderman, Jan Kershaw, M. Evans, Diane Brooks, Tammy Shepard, Erin Rogers, M. Evans, Scott. Thank you very much. Next time we'll do buy me a coffee, but thank you for the Venmo. I appreciate it. Or Patreon. I'm working on a new Patreon episode to be out very soon. Tomorrow I'm off. I will see you Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Have a great night, everyone.
I hit my boyfriend with my car. It wasn't an accident, but with lying lawyers I'll go far. Lying lawyers and witness harassment. I'll avoid prison. It was snowing. I pushed the pedal down, hit him hard. Now the legal system I clown. Innocent victim. Carry, carry, Jen, Jen. Like John, you were my mark. My innocence fraud campaign is my biggest hit. I pushed the pedal down, hit him hard, now the legal system I clown.